everyone. And so I think everyone's here that, except for Matt, that we're expecting. Tenley will not be attending today. So I will call the meeting to order. For the agenda, we do have one addition under action items, and it's regarding the July meeting. So I can pencil that in. We don't think anyone's coming from the city here, so should be a pretty straightforward meeting. So I just need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, agenda approved. Next we have the minutes for May 14th. The minutes look like we did a lot.
We talked a lot. We talked a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, good job. Any questions, additions, changes? If not, ask for a motion to approve the minutes for May.
I move we accept the minutes.
Thank you, Jan. And a second?
Second?
Dee, thank you. All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
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 Okay. So down to action items, we do have a policy to review. As our standard, looks like the only change is an addition of a paragraph about donation. So, I don't know, it's just, who's?
I can speak to it briefly, you bet. So this was a policy that wasn't necessarily due up for review right now. We keep everything on typically an every 3-year period for review, but in light of noting that we often have received requests from local partners to have donation boxes, it could be, or donation containers, I should say. It could be a clothing drive, it could be like a toys for Santa around the holidays, or the poppies and having monetary donations. Anything kind of that nature, really, we didn't see it being addressed here in the policy, so felt that we should note something relating to that, as well as that we are not responsible for the contents that are collected in that whatever receptacle that it is. So we're recommending this addition to the policy, but certainly welcome feedback, questions, and if none, of course, we just recommend that we add that and move forward with your approval.
Do we want to add that not only is the library not responsible for the contents, but they're not responsible for the containers themselves? It's just a suggestion.
So Joseph, someone should take the whole thing?
Yeah. Like, it was here. Well, now it's gone. That's not our fault.
We certainly can add that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be your normal answer? I mean, do you say yes to that stuff?
Where do
or
they get placed?
Depends. Maybe in the smaller communities, it's more
Yeah.
typical than, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we often then have conversation about as a leadership team to determine. I mean, I think we've had those requests in all of our branches, I would say. And it came up recently, and I'm looking at Paul here at Norwood, and certainly we do want to be good local partners when we're able. It would typically be more of a community partner, such as like VFW, or it could be a nonprofit. If it was for profit, that is something that we typically would steer away from. But
For sure.
Yeah, we had in the springtime, the Waconia Food Shelf was doing a targeted ask for diapers. And so that was just Waconia specific. Here it was American Legion, I think, is the poppies.
Mm-hmm.
And my concern when that request came to me, or actually I think what happened was it was put out, and then I heard about it being put out, which is sometimes the dynamic, right? A community group is like, oh, they're doing good, and they'll just set it out on a counter in the vestibule or whatever. So, at any rate, I asked because I was concerned. Well, that's container of money, that can just walk out the door.
Right.
Right, and then that's not gonna be an easy follow-up.
So when it's like a big box for gifts or donation, when it's not monetary, you just leave it there. If it's monetary, do you pull it aside and put it out in the day, at the end of the day, kind of a thing?
Well, with the monetary, this is the first time I think we've had that.
Right.
And so it's a small enough that it's out by the self-check, and that was where we came to this wording. I mean, we really just can't monitor it. you
Right.
know?
Right.
And,
Agreed.
with the boxes, part of my concern is, and I imagine that Kevin and Patrick would say the same, and that is our entryways only have so much space. And we're already, my phrasing is we're shouting at people, right? You walk in the Waconia door, by the time you get past the curved wall, you've gone by about 50 signs. Literally, I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds absurd, but it's true, right? And so how many collections are we, so one at a time,
Right.
There are 3 organizations that are looking to collect in December,
Do
we'll
you
support
ask
one.
them like if they were to put a box there, that they need to come in every so often to pick it up?
Right, and
Like
then
do you
like
put a
people
requirement
that-
like every other day or every day
Yeah.
to pick it up, especially
Right.
for cash? You want them to pick it up and clear it
Yeah.
every day. Just also for the library safety, right? Someone does something stupid to come in and just grab the money.
Yeah. Or food donations too, right? You just don't want it
And
hanging around.
perishable too.
Yeah. Plus, if it's full, people are like, oh, they've met the need. No, it's empty. Give us more.
Yeah, well, and there's enough other places at churches and.
Yeah.
I
Just,
don't know,
yeah,
you even see
random
it at
parking
restaurants
lots you see
sometimes,
for like
yeah.
shoes and stuff, yeah.
So, yeah, I think be judicious and say yes to. Okay, so any other discussion? Otherwise, I would make a motion to,
One more administrative one.
yeah,
Because this was supposed to be a 3-year cycle, well, the 3-year now starts from 24. Okay, because it would have come up on 23, 25, because of 2022 was the last time it was reviewed, so we're reviewing 24, so it'll be next time will be 27. Okay.
Oh,
guess-
so you're suggesting that they change their review cycle, they won't?
Because we're reviewing it now, she said that it reviews
No, right,
every year.
I
That's-
definitely see where you're coming from.
It resets.
I think at some point you might, that if you're trying to keep them, we do them all in 1 year, then suddenly you have this outlier that's due in a different year.
And
So I don't-
no, it's a good question. They don't necessarily haven't always all fallen in 1 year.
Sure,
And certainly it would take your guidance as a group too, like if you feel we should keep it in another year from now, but I think what we've typically done is just rebooted and
pushed it out.
pushed it out
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
That's reasonable to me.
We want to talk about a space allowance because sometimes you have food you are serving during the summer too. On your big table, for example, at Chaska, as we enter the exit. Food and maybe it's,
I think it's discretionary to the branch manager, like if they don't have space, they just can't do it. Is that what I would gather?
because we can't bring it in, we have no space inside.
Right.
We've never seen a place to put your purse when you want to look at books, so.
So that's very much been a consideration as we all talk and are approached with different partner opportunities like this. Do we have the space? And sometimes there are branches that will say, yeah, we thank you so much for approaching us, but we just don't have the capacity right now to be able to do that. And it's not always ideal, but we have to, try to make a balance if we can. Yeah.
Once they find the space, though, it can become competitive. I've never seen an empty box out for anything, though, in the Chaska Library. I've never seen something
You've
other
had,
than masks and,
Sure.
what we have with our health department.
We did, we've had a couple since I've been here. One was like self-care products, and the other was winter wear.
And I think those were system-wide.
Right,
Yeah, we all
and they were
are close to it.
right around the corner by the defibrillator,
Oh,
right at the entryway.
okay.
so, but we certainly agree.
I will make a motion that we approve this policy with the clarification of contents and receptacles are not our responsibility. Can write that better, whoever's taking notes. So, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the item we added was, I already know I'm gonna be out of town for the August meeting. And so Jody and I were talking about that and maybe canceling it. But then it came up that actually the July agenda is much lighter than August. So we are thinking about or recommending that we cancel the July meeting, and it's right after the 4th, so people might be gone. But go ahead with the August meeting. But then typically the secretary leads the meeting in absence of the president, so wanted to give you a heads up. And I'm bummed because it's in Chanhassen and I want to hear about the Chanhassen mess. But I'll get good minutes for that. So what does everybody think about that? Canceling July?
I wouldn't be here in July anyways. I would miss that one.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's a thumbs up for me.
It's fine by me. I'm here, but I'm fine with canceling.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'll
it just
be-
seems like in the summer.
It is
things
tough
get
in the
crazy,
summertime,
so,
yep,
you know,
for sure.
I think it's,
Yep,
with enough notice, we can cancel them, so.
totally.
All right, would someone like to make a motion then for July?
Make a motion to cancel the July meeting, library board meeting.
And a second? Second, Charles, thank you.
Second,
Okay, all in favor of canceling July, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
so the August meeting, you just won't be able to make it, or do you want to do audio online or anything like that?
I'll be out of the country.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
just ask good Chanhassen questions.
You'll
All
be
right.
able to listen to the audio recording.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I've always been
Online.
curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so no carryover business, so we're ready for Jody already.
Sure.
Oh, this is going really fast.
It is going really
See, we can cancel July.
All right, so I'll talk about the budget a little bit first. I really have no major updates for the current budget where we sit. We're looking fine at this point of the year, but I always welcome questions about it. So I'll give you a moment to look at that.
Jody, could you point out for me, I saw it, now I lost it again. Where is the line item about fines?
So they're in different places.
Okay,
Each library has
Each
their own.
library has their own line item.
Gotcha.
Let me get to the right page here. So Chanhassen is the first library listed, which is on
There it
page
is.
5. And I'll just use this one as an example. So you will see then the first line item under Chanhassen is county library fees.
okay.
And as you scroll over to the right, you'll see what the current budget was set at for 2024, what has obviously been collected, and then the percent of the budget. So we're definitely, in terms of fines and fees collection, that is much lower than what was projected.
Right.
Yeah. And that's essentially, I mean, across the board in each of the branches. And that's something that's been trending downward. I mean, obviously the pandemic was a whole nother story because we stopped collecting fines during that period and then resumed after the pandemic. And, you know, one of the factors certainly we could say is digital checkouts because of the increase of digital checkouts, and there's no fines associated with that, certainly. And then the auto renewal has impacted as well.
Right, I was gonna say the auto renewal
Yeah.
probably saved a lot.
And we knew that it would take a dip, especially in the first year of auto renewal. So I think those are probably two of the bigger factors that play into that.
What was any idea what it was last year? Just for comparison's sake?
I can get that number for you, I just don't know off the top of my head.
I'm just curious, did we see it start to diminish last year and then this is just a
I
continual
recall it.
decline or what?
And even the year before and the year before, there's such a discrepancy.
Yes, exactly, and I have a spreadsheet that shows a comparison that our accountant has put together, so I'd be glad to share some of the data with you if that would be helpful. Yep.
Yeah, well, the reason I ask is I'm jumping the gun to your report.
I knew you would.
And, yeah, I think I was happy to see that, but I just wondered if you were, were you just gonna put it in your budget? Or were you gonna do kind of a report on that and what impact it would have?
Yes, I will. I'm planning to do a report to all of you about advocating for going fine-free. Kind of right now where it sits is just an initial request at the county level for 2025, and I don't have a sense yet. They haven't gone through work sessions about it yet.
Okay.
But that essentially looks at an additional budget request to offset that.
Right.
And whether we need to look at any of our incoming MELSA formula funds that we receive in addition to an adjustment from the county to offset that. I can tell you also that we are one of 2 remaining MELSA library systems that still charge fines. Anoka and Carver are the only 2 left. Across the state, Kevin was pulling some data
I think we're at 60% of the libraries are fine-free.
across the whole state.
That's
of Minnesota.
completely fine-free, but there are more that are fine-free for young adult things and others that charge for just equipment.
Okay, sure.
But it's a very small percentage that charge fees just across the board.
What kind of equipment though?
Kind of increments.
What kind of equipment?
Oh, hotspots is the one that has mostly been mentioned when I contacted libraries.
Which,
We don't.
that makes sense.
Ours we just let them borrow it, right?
But they have to return it at a certain.
They do, and it's the same, late fee as everything else.
Oh, so we still charge late fees for that hotspot too right now?
Yeah, so with those libraries, that's all that they charge late fees on.
Oh, okay. I thought it was equipment rentals. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Other libraries handle it, such as the Dakota and other libraries when they started long ago dropping fines.
Well, I think Dakota finally went fully fine-free just in this past year. Am I remembering that correctly, Patrick? Yeah. But it is a budget request to the county board.
Although that's the procedure.
That is the procedure, yes, or typically I would say. And I should note too that this is fines, we would still be charging, like if an item is lost or damaged, those fees would still stay in place. We're specifically talking about late fees that would be eliminated. And some systems have gone first with eliminating like juvenile fines for youth. And then, so that was a starting point, and then incrementally then added the remainder of the late fees to that.
Are you thinking that it's good to go that way or just take the plunge?
I think it's good to take the plunge, if I was to be totally honest. But it's a considerable ask. But there's so much tied to it with accessibility and equity to be able to do that for patrons. Definitely, I think that's important to think about that part of it too, that it's not just about.
Well, and that's what I was trying to get a handle on. So it's really 25, 35, 45, 50, something like that.
So we estimated like around 40.
Okay. So the county will have, it shouldn't be based just on money, but you do have to replace that somewhere.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So when do you think we might see the report? August?
Or I can, August or September, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yep,
Okay.
yep.
I look forward to that. But it's not our decision, basically, right? It's
It's
the money
ultimately-
decision and it's your recommendation. We're more just advising you and giving you maybe feedback on what they might want to know, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. We can do that. Okay, so not to jump ahead there, so the budget essentially is on track?
Is on track, aside from fees, I should caveat. And so right now, currently, like this morning, I had a meeting with our finance accountant from the county, working through 2025 budget projections on each of the line items. So that's the next step in the 2025 planning process. But that planning, those projections have to remain levy neutral, which means we're not asking for any additional, it's just looking at the line items and considering whether we need to shift things around between different line items. And also considering, typically for the Chaska lease for the administrative offices, there's a 2.5% increase each year on that rent. So having to determine how we make up for that elsewhere in the budget. That's just one example. So, yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Lori on the budget? Or Lori? I'm looking at the name Lori here. Jody?
No, we're used to seeing the big figures here in the variance because we know it has to do with the money that comes from the foundation and so on. That's account for this.
Right, right. There was, I think I mentioned that last month. to get
Yes, you did.
Yep, the one really large variance is in the tech budget, and it's related to our RFID project because the money came in from MELSA and it just they haven't caught up on journal entries and budget amendments to shift that to the right line item. So then it just, yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then we have Jody's report for June. Any highlight for us?
Sure. Let's see. Well, of course, summer reading kicked off, so that's exciting. And now that I think all of our districts are officially out, it'll really start to amp up. So that's always an exciting time and busy for our staff, definitely, and our branch managers and operations supervisors. I noted, of course, there's a very big project that has kicked off or commenced in Chanhassen on the Civic Campus that will continue through the summer of 2026, and that involves a new city hall, council chambers, senior center, park amenities, and definitely will impact the library, accessing it, parking. I think I would have you ask Patrick if you have any questions on that or concerns, but that will definitely be something that we'll be keeping an eye on and helping to communicate out to our patrons as best we can.
Has it had any effect in the launching of the robust summer program? Is parking still available as usual?
From what I saw today, working on the desk, no. It was insanely busy.
Ooh.
We haven't had our first big Tuesday program, but mainly what we've had is people asking questions, including the person who wanted to make a speech about the waste of public money while standing in a public building with a stack of free DVDs and unable to understand the concept of irony.
So like if, I never asked this before, so if, obviously next to the library there's the Lunson Barley parking lot. Do they let us overflow there or do they
What
make
the
a
staff,
distinct?
our staff has been told is people ask if they can park at Lunds and Byerly's, they were told to say that it's up to you. We're not telling people to park there, we're not telling people not to park there, that's your choice. I know during the 4th of July, they monitor it and they won't let you park there if
Right,
you're not
right.
going in. I don't know if they're gonna start doing that on days we have big programs. If so, it's gonna be really problematic. Overall, this will help our parking because they're gonna move all the city vehicles that take up about half of the ramp into a downtown basement parking garage in the new city hall.
But that's in the new city hall, that's like,
Right, that's 2026.
Right.
So in the meantime, we'll just put up with this. There's nothing we can do. Well, that's not true. They blocked our fire exit with a fence. And so we told
is that a fire hazard then?
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
we told, I didn't like rat them out to the fire chief. I just went to the person at the city and said, this is inappropriate and you need to change this. It was changed within an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, someone wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
What did they change?
They basically added a way for people to escape and an opening with a big sign that says, do not walk here, but it does allow people, they would have to leave that exit to get out into the public area, out into the parking lot.
So normal patrons, are they, do you know where, if they're running into parking problems, you haven't had a huge problem yet?
Not that I saw, not that I've heard, yeah. But,
Okay.
you know, it's only been a week. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more. as it
Well, I
goes
heard
on.
a couple people from my friends group say, I'm just staying away.
Well, then other people made up for it today.
Okay, good.
I remember when the city manager presented this to us, and she said, of course, we're going to work around you, everything will be the same for you. But one can't have vision and such a logic what they are doing. This is a huge,
Well, I
huge
just
thing
wasn't
for
expecting,
Chanhassen.
I told Patrick, the fencing comes all the way up to like half the library. You can't use that sidewalk across 78.
Oh.
There's big orange fences everywhere, which I don't know what that's for.
That's to protect the trees, to make sure that when they're doing
Oh,
tree
well, that's a
removal, they
good
don't
thing, so they won't be
accidentally.
throwing junk in there or
Right.
anything.
No, the footprint is a lot larger than we
Yeah,
were
than I
told.
expected.
That we were told.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it really, yeah, you can't miss it if you drive down there.
But you can complain about it.
Well, you are always unflappable, so.
Okay, anything else?
I'll just cover the rest of it briefly, but I noted the staff that have gone to some national and local conferences over the past few months. So I just want to note those opportunities for you. The new MELSA Executive Director search is officially underway. That they were waiting on the legislature to pass for the MLIS requirement to be dropped from that position. Not that you can't have one, but it's not a requirement. So once that was passed, then they were able to push out the posting, and they are actively recruiting for that. Talked about the finance piece already, and then tomorrow our management team is undergoing training for a new scheduling software, which has been a long time in the works after several years, I would say, of searching for what we hope to be a very successful project and product, I should say, to be more efficient and effective for our management team to do scheduling, for our staff to be able to access schedules, for our subs especially to be able to easily know what shifts are available.
Sure.
So training happens tomorrow, and then staff training will be in July, and that Kevin's been working on developing that. So we're anxious to get that rolling, and it will be both a web-based and an app-based software.
That's cool. I'm such a geek, but that's cool. I'm so happy when technology works for people versus, being forced down your throat. So that's cool. I can see the benefit.
Well, we hope that will be the case.
Yes, right? The training is tomorrow. We hope too.
Well, it's an interesting software name, Humanity.
Yeah, TCP Humanity.
What does TCP stand for, do you know?
Time Clock Plus.
Okay.
That has no connection with the word humanity.
sanity meeting.
And then lastly, I just want to note on the back of my director's report, Jake Foster was not able to be with us at Watertown last month, so he graciously submitted some talking points and wanted me to share those with you. So I won't read them all to you, but I hope that you'll have a moment to review those, and certainly if you end up having any questions, I'm happy to relay them back to Jake. Oh, one more thing. See, I'll keep going here. Wanted to make you all aware of the Minnesota Library Association Conference that will be in October. That's a yearly conference that rotates throughout different cities in Minnesota. Jan, I believe you went when it was in Duluth.
Yes, and 2 online, so.
Yeah, 2 online, and Gwen, I can't recall if you've attended.
I went when it was in St. Cloud.
Okay, so this year it will be in Rochester on Thursday, October 24th and Friday, October 25th. And we always open it up to the board if you are interested. There's a trustee level attendance fee that we will cover, as well as up to 1 night of lodging as well. So you could consider that and reach out to myself or Susan Blatz if that's something you're interested in.
24th, 25th, is that Friday, Saturday, or?
It's a Thursday, Friday
Friday.
in Rochester.
Thursday, Friday.
And when will the agenda come out, or the speakers?
Good question.
Okay.
I think, I'm trying to remember if it was late July, early August last year when the sessions were posted. I know they're not there yet.
I wanted to go last time, but somehow I couldn't go. I might try for 1 day, probably not 2 days.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, check your calendars, and it's a great experience. I should let Jan speak to it, or Gwen, that have attended before.
Well, it's exciting because it's about things that we don't cover here, actually, unless we're interested in children's literature. There's always a lot on that, but you just learn a lot about Minitext, and it kind of, you acquire the vocabulary of a librarian by taking notes and going. It's like taking a college class, except it's all in one building, and they feed you all the time, morning, noon, and then another dessert is in the afternoon. But and you meet the most wonderful people. In fact, I've met, at least at the last one, in Duluth, a half dozen who had actually worked right here in our Carver County Library. They got their start, and some of them became directors of other. They were just. I enjoyed it, but it's so much like education, which was my field. So.
And there's always depends on how they set it up, but there's usually a vendor exhibit hall, or so you can meet some of the vendors that we
Free
work
books.
with. Yep.
There are perks.
You go in an empty bag full of books.
Well, and typically somebody from Carver County or your staff gives a presentation, don't they? Or
Oftentimes, yes.
yeah,
We have
I
someone
mean,
that's.
when will you know that?
Almost every time.
Oh.
And you've done it too.
Everyone here that you're expecting?
Yeah,
is where
so
we're
good
gonna
luck.
go. Okay.
Thank you, have a good night. Thank you.
Yeah, session proposals are actually, well, that might tie into, I'm trying to remember when session proposals are due.
Okay, okay.
But, so,
But
yeah.
Yeah,
I've
so it's
seen
nice
you
to
at
support
least
that.
2 times. Twice for 2 years I had it online, of course, due to COVID. And you did it with a group. And our Jim, who usually
yes.
visits us, does it with you. But who is the one that, I think she's in one of your libraries. She has done it every year since I had 5 years. I just can't think of her name.
From Chanhassen or?
That is,
Could be
No, she's
Kristen
not-
Schneider.
She's from one of your 3
Okay.
that is
libraries. And
given presentations.
She does a presentation.
Would Cindy have been one to
No,
do that?
I know her by her first name.
You would?
Yeah, if you mention the first names,
Yeah,
not
because
that
I was gonna say, Kristen
Kristen.
Schneider is at Victoria, and she had worked in the western branches, but she's in Victoria. She's very active in MLI. Yeah. But, and I'm stumped now.
We'll have to figure this one out.
And Jim twice, I've seen it with you, and
So we would have August and probably the September meeting to get more information and figure out if it works for anybody. Okay.
And I can, as soon as we see if when sessions, excuse me, are posted, I can let you all know, so you can peruse that.
and there will not be a session for us or a meeting for board members.
Right.
Okay, my agenda going here. So on to branch reports.
In my packet, the first page is this picture, which is the best picture I've ever featured in one of my reports, probably because I didn't take it. It has a nice shout out to the Library Foundation and the Friends of the Library.
Yeah.
So I thought that was excellent. The next page is music in May, which used to be music in March. The fact that it's music in May explains why we could do it outside. What was interesting, the performer at Victoria outside actually drew more people than the performer inside at Chanhassen. And this was before the construction. And then on the third page is our drive-in story time. This is the second best picture I've ever included. That's my report. Thank you.
That's awesome.
I'm going to show this picture at the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get mentioned in it.
That's a great one.
Okay, Kevin?
So you get to see my shiny head on the front of mine.
Yeah,
Power. Thanks. So a lot of school visits went on in May. I personally visited all the Carver County, or the Carver Library, Carver classes. I'll get it out. And I had kind of adopted the kindergarten classes this year, so I would go visit them once a month. And so these are my kindergarten friends in the picture.
That's awesome.
Our teen programs have continued to be successful under Jessica's leadership, and next week we have our new teen person starting who I know has a real interest in teen programming as well, and so I'm sure that that success will continue to grow. Another outreach was the Carver Bike Rodeo, and we set up a story walk there. We had a dance program, which was, afterwards we were asked to bring them back, so we'll have to take that into consideration. Some really nice thank yous came in, and at the bottom is the city plowed up a section of the lot across from the street from the library, and we're calling it the Cultivation Commons and using it as kind of a learning garden. Anything that's grown there will go to the food shelf.
Are you gonna protect it from like the rabbits? And
We're trying to find
Good
some
luck.
cheap ways to keep the vermin away.
just to let you know, I don't know if you all live in Chaska, but there's foxes around in Chaska lately. Have you seen that? It's not one,
There's
it's two.
Well, there's one
I
that's
saw two.
constantly in my backyard.
Because it was like, they keep going in front of my garage door, which is the camera, so I'm looking at knife like, oh, it's one. They said, no, it's two! But I just got a mom and a kid.
Right.
Yeah, and I noticed that in my backyard, all my rabbits are gone.
Oh.
And we actually found a squirrel tail in our yard, just the tail only left. and I found behind my arborvitae bird feathers. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? I
yeah.
think they're all done, they left because there's nothing left to eat.
They're still there.
So you could get the foxes here. You don't eat the vegetables, but they get rid of your vermin.
We just set up a den.
Right, yeah. Make it comfortable for the fox, so it's uncomfortable for the rabbits. I don't know, I have 2 dogs in my backyard and the rabbits have been eating everything. My tomatoes, my cucumbers,
No, but the
everything.
foxes will go around
Do
and
they eat
they...
hostas?
They haven't eaten my hostas, so I don't,
Oh,
maybe
something's
Carver,
chewing my hosta.
but you're in Carver,
Depends
they
how
eat your,
hungry they are.
why don't they, maybe because I have tomatoes, do you not have tomatoes?
I do.
You do have tomatoes, well, what in the world?
We'll have to talk.
We will, like, I don't know. Everything's
Get a
gone.
fox.
Get a fox. Awesome.
Okay, yeah, the good news with all this rain is everything's green. The bad news is
You got,
mosquitoes and critters and everything
Yes.
out and about.
and you gotta mow it more often.
Yeah, it's not good for farmers, but. All right, you're on.
Well, speaking of the garden stuff, if you look out the window, but on your way out to the parking lot,
Oh, you got
is
a garden
one of
bed.
those garden beds is the
Oh, yeah.
library garden bed. So every year that's sponsored by the Friends of the Library at this branch. And Tricia weaves into some of the programming, kids planting and maintaining the garden and other STEM type of stuff. So we have a great opportunity here that we try and take advantage of. And while we're talking about this branch, I just still have to, last Saturday, with all the activity that was going on here, was just incredible. To see how we can be a part of these community events and talk with people who we may not otherwise see as regular library patrons that are coming in here to view the quilt show. Each one of these book stacks had quilts draped over top of them. And I didn't include a picture of it this time, I should have, but at any rate, that's how it works, is all these book stacks are covered with these just beautiful quilts. And then the artisan fair that was going on out in Elm Street and out on the front sidewalk of Buckdale. And that we had 800 some odd people come through here, when on a typical Saturday we have 50, 60. So that's just incredible. And a lot of fun. So very good. Also, it's interesting that we, once a year, and this has been going on since before my time here, is we're invited out from this branch to go on talk radio on KGLB, the country station out of Glencoe. And so last Friday, and we taped it on Thursday morning, was aired Friday, and then repeat, I think, on Saturday or Sunday. And Jeremy and Elroy, just the nicest guys to interview you, and they said 12 to 14 minutes, and we were 14 minutes and 16 seconds when we hit the record button, so a lot of fun. But a great opportunity again to reach out to some people that we don't otherwise and just talk about library services, especially summer reading program. So good outreach there. Our next chapter book club, which is a Dalkey grant funded program, we had a touch base session this week with the staff that are involved with that. So just to recap, and those who haven't been around for that, it's a book club that is geared towards adults with developmental disabilities, and we partner with MCRI, and don't ask me what that stands for, it's Minnesota something or other, right? But it's an organization that serves people in need in a variety of different ways, and so they come with a group of adults, and every other week or twice a month, and we have a book club with them. Most of them are not able to read or just learning to read, and we have 2 staff, and there are typically 8 to 10 people that attend, and so it's just been wonderful program, impacting a small number of people in a big way. And part of what happens also is just a socialization. And so we're expanding it intentionally a little bit to include some crafts as well as a part of that. One of the things that going to, I guess it was when Serena went to PLA, Public Library Association Conference over the winter, and so there's this flurry of email going on, right? Serena's out in, I don't know where it was, it's not Columbus.
Ohio, yeah,
Columbus, right? Bridget is in Watertown, and I'm in my office, and there's this going back and forth. So long story short version is there's a adaptive technology device called a C-Pen, which is about a pen-sized handheld object of which when you pass it over the words, then it reads and audio of the words, right? And so the suggestion from Serena was, hey, and Serena is one of the librarians that is trained and a part of our team of staff that are in this reading group, book club group. So she recommended we take a look at it, and we've talked about it some, and so I'll be bringing to the Watertown Friends at their meeting, quarterly meeting this upcoming week, that they financially support the purchase of this. It's $200, right? And so we're continuing. That group is just, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And so this will be that partnership, right? Where we've, seed money came from the Dalkey grant. This will be supported financially through the Friends, and that's good. And then today at the MELSA Youth Services virtual, we meet virtually, the MELSA Youth Services team. So youth services librarians or administrator, manager types from around the MELSA area. And we were talking today about the challenges that many of us experience with people registering for programs and then not showing. Or conversely, we also experience where we get, the program is advertised and marketed as registration only, and then we get people showing up and pretty insistent at the door that they be let in because they're there. And of course, as librarians, that's not exactly our style, So somebody lighthearted comment today at the meeting was, well, maybe we should be hiring bouncers, But on a serious note, it is hard, and staff spend a lot of effort, and our software helps us with having registration list, having a wait list, notifying staff when somebody who's registered unregisters, so that wait list people can be moved up and all that kind of thing. But nonetheless, we ain't alone, right, in our struggles here with trying to address having a finite number of seats for some programs. That's just the way it is, whether they're supplies oriented, space oriented, and that kind of thing. And being able to manage that and do it with some grace and and professionalism. So we keep working at it. And summer season, of course, is just amping that up a little bit. And we've shifted a little bit with our summer reading program from having a performance each week at the branches, at each branch, where it was large group, everybody just open the doors, you could find space to sit, you're welcome, to more workshop oriented things where we do have registration lists. So, and we've made that evolution for good reasons, but then it does bring to the forefront this addition challenge. But good stuff. It's going to be a great summer.
Yeah, good.
With grace and professionalism, yes, I like that expression.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they come without, and it's one where they know supplies are involved with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, we had like the barn quilting that Bridget, this was a staff designed one that we had up in Watertown. And Bridget called me in the afternoon. She goes, I just got off the phone. She goes, this woman said she's showing up tonight and she's coming to the event. And I explained to her that she's like 8th on the waiting list and it's unlikely that she would be next in line. And she said she's coming anyways.
So what happened?
I think it ended up working out that the people that had registered, that the no-shows on the registration list went so deep that we actually did get to her.
Right.
But it's a little bit of an aside.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, just, I'm gonna be there, it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, Matt's not here for MELSA, and Jan, I'm thinking you haven't met since the
That is
foundation
true.
hasn't met.
But we will meet, do you come to every meeting?
I do.
We will meet 2 days we are canceled for July. So on the 11th, we will have a meeting and I have interesting things to share and, uplifting to say to them. And I mean, and again, to meet with them, they're such nice people. It's a nice group.
A lot of new.
And so are
folks
you,
that have
so
come
that's what I
together.
will be sharing too.
Yeah, okay, I look forward to that. Then we have our media packet, and
It's so sad, we got no more Chaska
know.
Herald.
yeah, it's getting thinner for now, so hopefully there'll be. So any other topics or questions today? Or questions on the material?
Are we ever going to talk about what the legislature did with banning, and how far it goes? Because it seems that they are not talking about schools. It seems like it's public libraries in schools. And there must be schools that have public libraries in them.
Well, it ties up both public and school libraries into the legislation. And we're in the midst, I know Patrick's working with Melsa Collection and collection team.
One of the librarians who helped basically write the legislation is taking that legislation and working it into their collection policy. Since she's the subject matter expert, she's going to share with me what she did. I'll get that, which will change our collection development policy. Because it involves a statute, it's going to the county attorney. County attorney will look at it, and I hope to have it at the August meeting, a new collection policy that says more or less, here's our policy. You can still object to an item, however, pursuant to Minnesota law 7.745, materials may not be banned, and then quote from the statute. So it will become part of our collection policy, telling people that they can't do this.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think obviously to do the challenge by anybody coming in, there's a criteria that they can no longer. There's still some criteria they can do, and still a criteria
They can
cannot.
still ask for items to be moved.
Right.
That's not in the legislation, it's just to remove it, but not to move the location, saying this should be not a teen book, it should be an adult book.
Okay.
And there's some circumstances that were, it's like if you do ban it, if they have an argument and you do decide to do it, then they have to, or you decide not to listen, then they have to sue that somehow they are being wronged by you not removing this book.
Right. Right.
But I'm just waiting to see what Sarah up in Anoka does, because she has the exact language from the legislation. She's going to work it into the policy, and we'll just copy that.
I'll be interesting if they'll do that. They'll do a topic on that in the conference in October in Rochester. I'm sure someone should recommend that that's the topic that someone should present.
Yeah.
I think sometimes at the conference, they do MLA legislative updates too.
Right.
It's part of one of the sessions often offered, so.
Yeah, it seemed like it passed pretty seamlessly,
Yes.
so it was probably all because of Charles leading that meeting. Yeah. Too
I
bad
should
it
have
wasn't-
waited a year
Yeah.
with you. I don't have to worry about it. Have not my name on it.
It was exciting.
I kept complaining it to her. That was the first time I went and visited her so often that 1 month. Ask her.
Okay, any other topics? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Quick.
Aye.
Enjoy another nice summer evening.